Hey everybody, this is Apocalypse Doc, your doctor in the apocalypse, and welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5.0 YouTube tutorial. Today we are going to continue with our interaction system. And in this part, we are going to add a little HUD widget to the screen when we can interact with an object. So you may remember in the last interaction video, we were interacting with doors. All we had to do was point the line trace to the door handle, then push our interact button, our input, F key, or whatever key you set up. And when you do that, the door would open or close. All right. Now we're going to have a little widget pop up, and it's going to say, press F to open, press F to close, or you can actually make it say whatever you want. So let's get started. So let's go into our interaction system folder, and I've created a folder called widgets. Double click that, right click, go to user interface, and go down to widget blueprint. Click on user widget. And we're going to name this WBP interaction HUD notify. All right, and go ahead and open up that class. There's many different ways you can make a little widget on the HUD. I like to start out by using a border. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and make that border basically almost black, and then decrease the alpha. 0.5 is usually okay. All right, and then we are going to add a text, just a regular text block. And I'm going to name this text underscore name, because the name of the object that we can interact with, that's what this variable is going to be set with. So click that is variable, compile and save. And then I'm going to right click on that, I'm going to wrap it with a vertical box. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this text block. Duplicate. Move this first one up top, and I'm going to call this title. Actually, go ahead and move this back down. There we go. And this is actually going to say whatever you want it to. I use a regular bracket, F, capital F, close the regular bracket, space, and then I write interact. That's usually what my default will be. However, what if you can pick up an object, or you can open an object, or you can search an object? You're going to want this interact text to change based on the object, right? So why don't we go ahead and make that a variable in itself? So let's right click on this. We're going to wrap this with a horizontal box, and let's go ahead and duplicate that. And for the one on the left, we're just going to have F. And for the one next to it, I'm just going to do the underscore lowercase p capital H for placeholder. And the same for this one, the name. All right, compile and save. All right. Okay. I also like to place either an outline or a shadow so I can kind of see things better on the HUD. It's totally up to you. I'm going to go ahead and add an outline of 1. All right. Cool. And you can also make it whatever text you want, whatever font you want. So how do we set up these variables? Go ahead and drag out the text and get that. Drag out, let's see, which one did we want? Actually, the one that says bracket, F bracket, we don't need that to be a variable, okay? And I'm going to rename this interact text. Interact text, all right? Compile and save. Go back to the graph, drag that interact text out, drag this pin off and write set text. All right, not tooltip text, but just regular text. Copy that, paste that over here, connect that pin. All right. All right, so now we need to figure out how are we going to change the text name and the interact text whenever we create this widget based on whatever object we are pointing our line trace at. We're going to do that by creating two more variables, okay? Drag this out, promote to variable, and type name. Okay, we're going to want to make that instance editable over here and expose on spawn, okay? Same thing for here. Drag this pin out, promote to variable, call that interact text. Okay, and the same thing, instance editable, expose on spawn. So when we spawn this widget into the world, we're gonna see these variables as pins, and we can input whatever we want. Okay, I'll show you more about that when we construct the widget and add it to the screen. All right, so that's pretty much all we need for now. If you want to make this widget a certain size, you can go ahead and wrap the border, all right, with a size box. So let's do that. And we can make the height, let's see, is 50 okay? Right where it says fill screen at the top right, change that to desired on screen, all right? Let's make the height 100. All right, that's fine. And I'm not going to override the width because I want it to be based on how long the name is. Another thing that I think looks really neat is to highlight this text and change the color. I usually like to use a gold because it kind of pops out. You may prefer something else. Compile and save. And then I usually like this text underneath to be a little lighter. So let's go to color and opacity. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, there we go. We'll change the alpha to 0.8. There we go. And it's a little less intense. There we go. All right. Looks great. So let's get this widget on the screen. Let's go back to our third person character. Now we are going to want to create something on the tick function. So type event tick. There we go. And we're going to want to do the exact same thing we're doing here. So I'm literally just going to copy our line trace, copy all of this. There we go. Don't copy the interact function. Right click and copy, paste it up here. And let's go over what all this means again. All right, so a line trace is going to come out. Anything that blocks the visibility channel here, right here, it's going to hit. All right. The actor that it hits has to implement our interact interface, and there has to be a successful hit in order for it to show the widget. All right. So let's create that widget. Drag off here and type create widget. There we go. And we're going to select the class that we just created, our interaction HUD notify. And look, these are the variables we created, name and interact text, and they're here. So let's figure out how we're going to set those. All right. One cool thing that you can do is use a select node for the interact text. Select. And you can literally have like the class of the object as your wildcard, and then like if it's a door, say open, close, you know, things like that. For now, we're just going to type interact. Okay. And for name, we want to grab the name of the object, right? So do we even have a name as a variable on the object we're interacting with? Let's go to our master item. And we actually don't. We don't really have a variable for name here. So let's create one. Variable. And I'm going to call this master item. change that to a text. All right, and this will be something we can customize. So I'm going to highlight the default category and type customizable. That way, any object that's a child of this master item, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit the name. All right. Or, excuse me, don't call this variable master item, call it name. Item name is probably better. Compile and save. All right. And I'm going to type test name for now. There we go. So one thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to be able to grab this name from any actor. Okay. And one way we can do that is we can add it to our interact interface, because all the objects that we interact with have to have a name, right? So let's add a function. BPI underscore YTT, that's for my YouTube tutorial, get item name. Perfect. Compile and save. And we're going to want an output, and that's going to be a text, and it's going to be the item's name. Item name. Compile and save. Now, any item that implements this interface is going to have item name, get item name, and we'll be able to access that when we create the HUD. So let me show you how that works. Go to the master item. Our new interface function appears. Let's double click on that. Now we can drag our new item name variable and plug that in. Compile and save. There we go. So all we need to do is go back to our third person character, go back to the actor we hit, and type get item name. And it pops up. All right. There we go. And now we just plug that in right here. Compile and save. All right. So now that we've created the widget, we need to add it to the viewport. But before we add it to the viewport, we're actually going to want to create a variable from it. All right. Run it to a variable and call it interact HUD notify. Compile and save. All right, let's plug that in. All right, perfect. So if we actually don't have a hit, or the item doesn't implement the interface, we don't want to create this. And if it is created, we want to remove it. In other words, when you're mousing over that item, you see the widget. When you move your line trace off the item, you need that widget to go away. So we're going to do that by dragging our variable out, right click, make it a validated get. All right. So if it's valid, we want to remove it. Remove from parent. All right. And that's it. All right. So we can test and see if this works. Let's go to our third person map. All right, so here we are. This is not our line trace on the interact. This is our persistent line trace for items. I see what I did. It worked, but the widget takes up the whole screen. Let's fix that. Oh, that's really funny. Okay. Let's see. Hide override. Okay, so let's go back to the third person character. After we add it to the viewport, let's change some things. Let's see. We don't want to add it to the viewport. Let's instead add it to the canvas panel of the main HUD. All right, so let's get our main HUD. Make sure this is valid. Okay, let's get the canvas. All right, and let's add a child. And the child is going to be this notify widget we created. Okay. Drag out from here and type set auto size. There we go. Check that box. All right. And let's focus it in the center of the screen, okay? So let's set the anchors. Okay, right click, split that pin, and all of these need to be 0.5. I believe that's the center of the screen. We might want to change the alignment a little, adjust it a little, but let's see what that looks like first. All right, there we go. That's what we wanted. So it appears, but it's not disappearing, and that's no good. All right, let's figure out what we can do to fix that. All right. All right, so one thing we're going to want to do is, if this widget is already present, we want to remove it. All right, so let's grab this. If it's not valid, go ahead and create the new widget. If it is valid, let's remove it. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this and set a delay. There we go. All right. Okay. I'm also going to split this up. And the first thing I want to do is decide if there's a hit. Because if there's not a hit, I want it to remove it. All right. And then next, I want it to tell me whether or not this item implements the interface. There we go. All right. Okay. Now let's try that. There we go. Perfect. Test name, and it says interact. And when we interact with it, it vanishes. Okay, this is weird. Oh, we have to change the name. Yeah, because right now it's working for the door handle, which is exactly what we want. Push F to open it, F to close it. But we need a name here. All right, because so far it only has the default name. Okay, so let's go find our door handle. All right, and we need a name. So let's go to get item name, and we can literally just type that in here. Door. Perfect. Compile and save. Now let's check that out. Door. F to interact. Door. F to interact. All right. And actually, another thing we can do, let's go to our interact interface. Let's add another function, BPI YTT, and it's called get interact action. And this will have an output that's a text. All right, so basically, this is going to allow us to, instead of having it say interact, okay, we'll just get the specific action for each class, open, close, search, loot, whatever. Yeah, get interact action. Okay, I know this is totally messy. I will clean this up. And then we'll plug that into there. Compile and save. So let's go back to our master item. And honestly, I think I'm just going to delete that because that's not necessary. All we need to do is just type it in here. Okay, and now let's do interact action. and the default will be interact. How'd you guess? Compile and save, and let's go to the door handle. And this, double click on that. This interact action will be, it's going to depend on whether the door is open or closed. So let's drag out a select node, right? Select, okay. Let's get the reference to our door, remember. And let's make that a validated get, remember, by right-clicking on it. And if it's valid, we're going to go ahead and give it some options, okay? So get is open, all right? So if the door is already open, we want to close it, right? So we want this text to say close. And if it's not, we want to open it, all right? There we go. Compile and save. Let's see if this works, all right? Let's double check, make sure everything's connected. Okay. Yep. Okay. Play. All right. So it should say door open. Perfect. And now it should say door close. Bam! We did it, you guys. How sweet is that? There you go. Bam. And then this little guy over here should still say test item interact. There we go. Perfect. The next video is probably going to be another stats video, and we are going to add a health and damage system, okay? And then after that, we'll work towards other stats like water and stamina. Thanks for joining me. Please hit that like button if you like what you saw. It really helps me in the algorithm. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it, and have a good day.